Trial by Fire. 1 week after the awakening, Sarah stood in the United Nations General Assembly, her golden form casting warm light across the gathered leaders of Earth. The chamber had been modified to accommodate both human and Zarkian delegates, with special sections for those who had transformed and those who hadn't. "The entity isn't just testing our barriers," she explained, creating a holographic display with a gesture. "It's learning, adapting, and it's not alone anymore." The display showed dark shapes pressing against the fabric of reality, drawn by the first entity's call. Earth's golden glow was visible from space now, a beacon announcing humanity's transformation to the universe. But that same light had attracted attention from forces they were only beginning to understand. "How many have transformed now?" asked the Secretary General, his own skin showing the first hints of golden light. 2 million, Venera answered from her position beside Sarah. "But the process appears to be selective. Not everyone has the potential to awaken." Through the Guardian network, Sarah felt the others watching through her eyes, sharing her consciousness. They had discovered that only about 1 in every 4,000 humans carried the active gene sequence needed for transformation. It wasn't random. The Void Makers had chosen specific bloodlines, spreading them across the globe to ensure coverage for the planetary prison. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. Sarah's enhanced senses detected a massive energy spike from the Arctic Circle. "Multiple dimensional breaches detected," Zixtal announced, his scales shifting to alarming red patterns. "They're attempting a coordinated attack." Sarah connected to the Guardian network instantly, linking minds with others near the breach points. Through their shared vision, she saw tiers appearing in reality, dark portals through which massive shapes tried to force their way into their dimension. "All Guardians to their positions," she commanded through the network. "This is what we've trained for." Around the world, transformed humans took flight, their bodies leaving trails of golden light as they rushed to defend their reality. Sarah herself teleported to the largest breach, appearing in a frozen wasteland of northern Greenland. The sight that greeted her defied description. A tear in space itself hung in the air, massive tentacles of pure darkness reaching through. Behind them, buried secrets. Inside the compound's main conference room, Sarah studied the holographic display projected by the Zarkian's handheld device. It showed a massive structure buried nearly 2 miles beneath the desert sand, its geometry too perfect to be natural. The object pulsed with a faint red glow that seemed to grow stronger with each passing minute. "We call them the Void Makers," first speaker Zixtal explained, all 4 hands moving in complex patterns as the hologram rotated. "They vanished 50,000 years ago, but their technology continues to activate across the galaxy, usually with devastating consequences." Dr. James Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenorchaeologist, leaned forward in his chair, his eyes wide with excitement despite the grave situation. "There are legends among many ancient Earth cultures about beings who could tear holes in reality. We always thought they were myths." "They were not myths," the second Zarkian, who had introduced herself as Science Director Venera, said softly. "The Void Makers created devices capable of puncturing the fabric of space-time. Each activation led to the complete destruction of star systems." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Why would anyone build such weapons? "We don't believe they were weapons." Zixtal's scales shifted to a deep purple. "Our research suggests they were attempting to access other dimensions, searching for something they had lost. But their devices were flawed, creating unstable rifts that consumed everything around them." The hologram zoomed in on a specific section of the buried structure, revealing what looked like writing etched into its surface. Sarah was surprised to recognize some of the symbols. "These markings," she said, pointing to a particular sequence, "they're similar to petroglyphs found in caves across Earth. We thought they were just ancient art." Dr. Rodriguez jumped up, pulling out his tablet. "She's right. Look at these images from sites in Australia, South America, and Africa." He projected his own pictures alongside the hologram, and the similarities were undeniable. "This is unprecedented," Venra's scales flickered with excitement. No other world we've found has maintained such clear records of Voidmaker activity. Your ancestors must have witnessed their work and preserved the knowledge. A low rumble shook the room, causing coffee cups to rattle on the table. The hologram's red pulse intensified. "It's becoming more active," Zixtal said urgently. "We estimate less than 72 hours before it reaches critical power levels. Once that happens, it will tear open a rift that will consume your entire solar system." Sarah stood up, her military training kicking in. "What do we need to do to stop it?" "The device can only be deactivated from inside," Venra explained. "We have the technical knowledge to shut it down." But what?" Sarah pressed. "The internal security systems are specifically designed to target our species' biology," Zixtal admitted. "Any Zarkian who enters will be instantly killed. We discovered this, at great cost, on other worlds." Dr. Rodriguez looked up from his tablet. "But they might not affect humans." "Precisely." Venra's scales turned a hopeful shade of green. "Your species is unlike any we've encountered. Your biology, your brain patterns, they're completely different from most sentient races. You might be able to bypass the security systems." Another tremor shook the building, stronger this time. Sarah walked to the window, watching as military vehicles began arriving outside the compound. The situation would soon spiral out of control if they didn't act quickly. "I'll go," she said, turning back to face the others. "But I'll need you to teach me everything you know about Voidmaker technology. We have 3 days to prevent a catastrophe." As the Zarkians began their technical briefing, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if humanity's first contact with alien life would also be their last. The fate of Earth, perhaps the entire solar system, now rested on their ability to understand and disable technology built by beings who had vanished before humans had even learned to write. Time was running out, and the device beneath the sand continued to pulse stronger with each passing moment. Into the deep. The excavation site buzzed with activity as massive drilling machines carved through layers of ancient sand. Sarah watched from the command tent, her new environment suit feeling stiff and uncomfortable. The Zarkians had modified Earth technology with their own protective systems, creating hybrid suits they hoped would shield the human team from whatever defenses the Voidmakers had left behind. "The neural interface is calibrated," Venra said, her scaled fingers making final adjustments to Sarah's helmet. "You will be able to see the energy patterns as we do. It may feel strange at first." Sarah activated the interface, and her vision exploded with new information. The world around her became overlaid with streams of colored light, showing energy flows and technological signatures. The buried structure beneath them blazed like a miniature sun, its red glow pulsing stronger than ever. "Fascinating," Dr. Rodriguez said, checking readings on his tablet. "The device's energy output has increased by 300% in just the last 12 hours. The dimensional distortions are already affecting our instruments." A young lieutenant rushed into the tent. "Captain Chen, the drilling team has reached the outer chamber. They've found an entrance." Sarah nodded to Venra and Zixtal. "Time to move. Are the translation programs loaded?" "Yes." Zixtal's scales shifted to a determined blue-gray. "We've compiled all known Voidmaker symbols and their meanings. The AI will provide real-time translations through your helmet display." The descent into the Earth took 20 minutes by elevator. Sarah led a small team including Dr. Rodriguez and 2 combat engineers, while the Zarkians monitored from the surface. The air grew noticeably warmer as they descended, despite their suits' cooling systems. When they reached the bottom, Sarah's enhanced vision revealed a sight that took her breath away. They stood before a massive doorway covered in shifting symbols, each one glowing with its own inner light. The material looked like metal, but felt like glass to the touch, and it hummed with power. "The symbols," Dr. Rodriguez whispered, "they're changing, responding to our presence." Sarah's helmet display began translating. "CKERs return / void CALs / price must be paid." We're getting energy spikes. Venra's voice crackled through their comms. The security systems are activating, but they're different from what we've seen before. Streams of golden light began flowing from the walls, swirling around the human team. Sarah tensed, expecting pain, but instead felt a gentle tingling sensation. The lights seemed to be scanning them. Incredible, Zixtal said. The defenses aren't attacking. They're welcoming you. New symbols appeared on the door. Humingen Ptern, Riktikogenisid / Ancient Kiovianant, Remembord / NTR, and Feudal Fail. Ancient Covenant. Sarah questioned. What does that mean? Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward excitedly. Captain, this might explain why we found those symbols in caves all over Earth. What if humans didn't just witness the Void Makers? What if we made some kind of deal with them? Before Sarah could respond, the massive door began to slide open with a sound like crystal singing. Beyond it lay a corridor that seemed to stretch forever, its walls covered in the same flowing symbols. The energy readings are going critical, Venra warned. Whatever you're going to do, it needs to be now. Sarah took a deep breath. Dr. Rodriguez, you're with me. Martins, Patel, guard the entrance. If we're not back in 1 hour, seal this place and get back to the surface. As Sarah stepped through the doorway, the golden lights followed, illuminating their path. The symbols on the walls began telling a story, one about humanity's past and possibly its future. But with each step deeper into the ancient structure, the pulses of red energy grew stronger, reminding them that time was running out. The fate of Earth now depended on understanding a covenant made between humanity and the Void Makers 50,000 years ago. A covenant that everyone had somehow forgotten. Ancient memories. The corridors seemed to respond to their presence, lighting up with soft golden patterns as Sarah and Dr. Rodriguez made their way deeper into the structure. Their footsteps echoed strangely, as if the space itself was amplifying the sound. Through her enhanced vision, Sarah could see waves of energy flowing through the walls like blood through veins. The symbols are telling a story, Dr. Rodriguez said, his voice filled with awe as he studied the walls. It's like reading a history book, but not just with words, with emotions, memories. Sarah felt it too. The neural interface was translating more than just symbols. It was conveying feelings, fragments of memories that weren't her own. She saw glimpses of Earth as it was 50,000 years ago, and beings that seemed to be made of light itself. The Void Makers, she whispered. They weren't trying to destroy worlds. They were running from something. Captain, Venra's voice crackled through their comms. We're detecting massive energy fluctuations. The device's power signature just doubled. A deep rumble shook the corridor, and the red pulsing light grew stronger. Sarah quickened her pace, following the golden streams of light that seemed to be guiding them. After what felt like hours but could only have been minutes, they entered a vast circular chamber. In the center stood a crystalline pillar that reached from floor to ceiling, filled with swirling red and black energy. Around its base, 7 pedestals formed a perfect circle, each one covered in glowing symbols. This is it, Dr. Rodriguez said, consulting his tablet. The main control center. But these readings, they're off the charts. Sarah approached one of the pedestals, and new symbols began flowing across its surface. Through the neural interface, she received not just translations, but understanding. Guardians, Hosen/Humanity, ACCPTED/Price of Power. Dr. Rodriguez, she called out, I think I understand. The Void Makers, they weren't just visitors to Earth. They chose humanity for something. Look at this, Rodriguez said from another pedestal. It shows humans, but different, enhanced. The Void Makers weren't just making deals with our ancestors. They were changing them, preparing them. Another violent tremor shook the chamber. Pieces of ceiling began falling around them. Captain, you need to hurry. Zixtal's voice was urgent. The device is reaching critical levels. The dimensional barriers are starting to break down. Sarah felt drawn to the central pillar. As she approached, the swirling energy inside seemed to reach out to her. Through the neural interface, she began receiving intense flashes of memory. But these weren't from the Voidmakers. They were human memories, passed down through generations, buried so deep in their DNA that no one remembered they were there. They were preparing us to be guardians, she said, understanding flooding through her. The Voidmakers knew something was coming, something that could destroy everything. They couldn't fight it themselves, so they chose humanity to carry on their work. But why us? Rodriguez asked, joining her by the pillar. Because we were different, Sarah replied, pieces falling into place. Our minds, our biology. We could adapt in ways other species couldn't. They gave us part of their power, hid it in our genes, waiting for the moment it would be needed. The chamber's lights suddenly turned blood red. Warning symbols flashed across every surface. Sarah, Venra's voice was filled with fear. Something's coming through. The rift is opening. Standing before the pillar, Sarah felt knowledge flowing into her mind. How to access the power hidden in her genes, how to control the ancient technology. But using it would change her, awaken something that had been dormant in humanity for 50,000 years. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. Would embracing this ancient power save them, or release something even more dangerous than the rift that threatened to destroy their world? Sarah reached out toward the pillar, knowing her next action would change humanity forever. Awakening. As Sarah's hand touched the crystalline pillar, golden light exploded through the chamber. Energy coursed through her body like liquid fire, and memories that weren't her own flooded her mind. She saw the Voidmakers' last days, their desperate race to prepare humanity before something terrible found them. She felt the changes they had hidden in human DNA, waiting for this exact moment. Captain Chen. Dr. Rodriguez's voice seemed to come from far away. Your suit, it's dissolving. The hybrid environment suit was breaking down, but Sarah felt no fear. Her skin began to glow with the same golden light that filled the chamber. Ancient knowledge awakened in her cells, transforming her at the most fundamental level. She could see everything now. The flows of energy, the fabric of space-time itself, the approaching horror that the Voidmakers had sacrificed everything to stop. Sarah. Venra's panicked voice came through the failing comm system. Something massive is emerging from the rift. Our sensors can't even process what we're seeing. Through her new senses, Sarah perceived it. A vast darkness pushing through from another dimension, hungry and ancient. This was what the Voidmakers had fled from, what they had prepared humanity to fight. I understand now, Sarah said, her voice resonating with strange harmonics. We were never meant to just shut this device down. It's not a weapon. It's a key. Dr. Rodriguez stared at her in awe. Golden light swirled around Sarah's form as she floated several inches off the ground. A key to what? To what we really are. What we were always meant to become. Sarah raised her hands, and the symbols on all 7 pedestals lit up simultaneously. The red energy in the pillar began to shift, changing to gold as she exerted her new power over it. She could feel similar devices awakening all across Earth, hidden beneath mountains and oceans, waiting for this signal. Multiple energy signatures detected worldwide. Zixtal reported. They're all activating at once. Through her expanded consciousness, Sarah reached out to others near the hidden devices. She felt them responding, awakening to their inherited power just as she had. Humanity's dormant potential was finally stirring. The thing from the rift recoiled as golden light began shooting up from points all around the globe. Sarah understood what had to be done. The Voidmakers hadn't built a weapon to destroy this entity. They had created a way to imprison it, using humanity as eternal guardians. Dr. Rodriguez, she said, get back to the surface. Tell them what's happening. Tell them not to be afraid. What about you? I have to complete the sequence. The others awakening around the world. They'll know what to do. It's in our memories now, in our blood. The darkness pushed further through the rift, reality warping around its impossible form. But Sarah stood firm, channeling power through the device, connecting with the other awakened humans across the planet. Together, they began weaving a net of golden energy around the entity. Incredible, Venra whispered through the comm. You're not destroying it. You're binding it. Now we know why the Void Makers chose Earth, Sarah said, power flowing through her. They didn't just need guardians. They needed a prison, and Earth itself is the cell. The entity fought against the net of energy, but more humans were awakening every second. Sarah felt their combined power growing, felt the ancient knowledge spreading. Humanity was changing, becoming what they were always destined to be. As golden light filled the chamber and spread throughout the structure, Sarah prepared for the final sequence. The true test wasn't just stopping this incursion. It was accepting humanity's new role as guardians of reality itself. The transformation had begun, and there would be no going back. New dawn. Golden light streamed from every major landmark on Earth. The pyramids of Giza pulsed with ancient power, Stonehenge hummed with newfound energy, and deep beneath Mount Everest, another guardian awakened. News channels worldwide broadcast images of ordinary people transforming, their bodies suffused with the same golden glow that had changed Sarah. In the chamber beneath the Sahara, Sarah maintained her connection to the prison network, feeling the consciousness of other guardians linking with her own. Through their shared awareness, she could sense the entity testing the boundaries of its new cage, searching for weaknesses. The transformations are spreading faster than we anticipated, Zixtol reported through the comm. Military forces worldwide are in chaos. Some are trying to contain the situation. They don't understand yet, Sarah replied, her voice echoing with power. This was always our destiny. Dr. Rodriguez, who had refused to leave her side despite her orders, watched in amazement as holographic displays appeared in the air around them, showing scenes from around the world. In New York, a transformed subway driver held back a dimensional tear that had opened in Grand Central Station. In Tokyo, 3 newly awakened office workers worked together to stabilize a rift that threatened to consume the city. How many? Sarah asked, sensing the network growing stronger. Over 10,000 transformed so far, Venra answered. The pattern appears to follow ancient ley lines. Those closest to the hidden devices are changing first. Through their shared consciousness, Sarah sent knowledge to the new guardians, how to control their powers, how to maintain the prison, why they had been chosen. The Void Makers' memories flowed through the network, helping them understand their new reality. But not everything was going smoothly. Sarah sensed resistance, fear, and confusion. Some of the awakened were fighting the transformation, their fear threatening to destabilize the entire network. The entity is reacting to the instability, she said, feeling it push against their defenses. We need to unite them, quickly. Using her connection to the network, Sarah projected her consciousness to every guardian simultaneously. Her voice echoed in their minds. I know you're afraid. I know this change seems impossible. But this power isn't alien. It's what we were always meant to be. The Void Makers didn't alter us. They unlocked what was already there. We are the guardians not because they chose us, but because we chose this role 50,000 years ago. Remember. As she spoke, more memories surfaced through the network. Their ancestors standing with the Void Makers, making the choice to become humanity's forever guardians. The power had been there all along, passed down through generations, waiting for the moment it would be needed. Multiple dimensions are attempting to breach our reality, Zixtol warned. The entity is calling to others of its kind. Sarah felt the pressure growing. The prison wasn't just meant to hold one entity. It needed to protect their entire dimension from invasion. But to do that, all the guardians had to work together. Through the network, she felt minds connecting, understanding growing. The initial fear was being replaced by determination. Humanity had faced impossible challenges before. This was just another step in their evolution. Dr. Rodriguez, Sarah said, turning to her friend. I need you to tell our story. The world needs to understand what's happening. This isn't an ending. It's a beginning. More golden light erupted from Earth's surface as new guardians awakened. The planet itself seemed to pulse with power, ancient machinery coming to life after 50,000 years of sleep. Humanity was changing, but they were changing together. In orbit, astronauts on the International Space Station watched in awe as Earth began to glow like a star. The coming days would bring challenges, but for now, humanity faced them united in their new purpose. The Age of Guardians had begun. Trial by fire. 1 week after the awakening, Sarah stood in the United Nations General Assembly, her golden form casting warm light across the gathered leaders of Earth. The chamber had been modified to accommodate both human and Zarkian delegates, with special sections for those who had transformed and those who hadn't. The entity isn't just testing our barriers, she explained, creating a holographic display with a gesture. It's learning, adapting, and it's not alone anymore. The display showed dark shapes pressing against the fabric of reality, drawn by the first entity's call. Earth's golden glow was visible from space now, a beacon announcing humanity's transformation to the universe. But that same light had attracted attention from forces they were only beginning to understand. How many have transformed now? Asked the Secretary General, his own skin showing the first hints of golden light. 2 million, Venera answered from her position beside Sarah, but the process appears to be selective. Not everyone has the potential to awaken. Through the Guardian network, Sarah felt the others watching through her eyes, sharing her consciousness. They had discovered that only about 1 in every 4,000 humans carried the active gene sequence needed for transformation. It wasn't random. The Voidmakers had chosen specific bloodlines, spreading them across the globe to ensure coverage for the planetary prison. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the building. Sarah's enhanced senses detected a massive energy spike from the Arctic Circle. Multiple dimensional breaches detected. Zixtal announced, his scales shifting to alarming red patterns. They're attempting a coordinated attack. Sarah connected to the Guardian network instantly, linking minds with others near the breach points. Through their shared vision, she saw tiers appearing in reality. Dark portals through which massive shapes tried to force their way into their dimension. All Guardians to their positions, she commanded through the network. This is what we've trained for. Around the world, transformed humans took flight, their bodies leaving trails of golden light as they rushed to defend their reality. Sarah herself teleported to the largest breach, appearing in the frozen wasteland of northern Greenland. The sight that greeted her defied description. A tear in space itself hung in the air, massive tentacles of pure darkness reaching through. Behind them, she glimpsed a realm of impossible geometry and hostile physics that hurt her mind to look at. Remember your training. She called to the dozen other Guardians who had arrived. Form the containment pattern. They moved in perfect synchronization, their shared consciousness allowing them to act as one. Golden energy flowed between them, weaving a net of light around the breach. But this entity was stronger than the first, more determined. A tendril of darkness lashed out, striking one of the younger Guardians. Instead of harming him, it began pulling at his essence, trying to corrupt the Voidmaker's changes. Hold the line. Sarah poured more power into the network, drawing strength from Guardians around the world. Humanity isn't just guarding reality. We're guarding each other. Through their combined power, she could feel the original entity stirring in its prison, trying to connect with its brethren. But the prison held firm, strengthened by millions of awakened minds working in concert. The battle raged across multiple points on Earth, new Guardians discovering the extent of their powers under fire. They could reshape matter, manipulate energy, and even bend space itself. But their greatest strength wasn't their power, it was their unity. As Sarah led the defense against the Arctic breach, she understood why the Voidmakers had chosen humanity. It wasn't just their adaptability or their potential for power. It was their ability to stand together in the face of impossible odds. The entity roared in fury as the Guardians began pushing it back through the breach. Humanity's first real test as reality's defenders had begun, and they were ready to prove themselves worthy of the trust placed in them 50,000 years ago.